My mother's voice cut through the dinner table like a knife. "Sophia, we need to talk about your room." I looked up from my plate, confused. "My room? Madison needs it," my father said, not even looking at me. "For her content studio. Her follower count is exploding, and she needs proper lighting. Space for equipment." "That's my childhood bedroom," I interrupted quietly. My sister Madison, 23 years old, Instagram influencer, family golden child, flipped her perfectly styled hair and smiled. "Come on, Soph. It's not like you're doing anything important with it. I'm building a brand. You're just existing." My mother nodded enthusiastically. "Madison's right. This is her moment. You can take the basement room. Or," my father added, his tone making it clear this wasn't a suggestion, "you can move out. You're 28. It's time anyway." I sat there, invisible as always, and felt something inside me shift, something cold, something final. Because what they didn't know, what nobody in my family knew, was that I wasn't the failure they thought I was. And I was about to prove it in the most spectacular way possible, before I tell you about the most satisfying power move I've ever made. If you love stories about people who quietly win while everyone underestimates them, hit that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and get comfortable. Because this story has twists, hidden wealth, and a revenge so perfectly executed that even I'm still impressed with myself. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Sophia Chen, and for most of my life, I was invisible. Not literally, of course. But in my family, I might as well have been a ghost. I grew up in a nice suburban neighborhood in Orange County, California. Upper middle class area, good schools, safe streets. My parents, David and Susan Chen, were both successful. Dad was a dentist with his own practice. Mom was a real estate agent who specialized in luxury properties. They made good money, lived comfortably, and had very specific ideas about success. Ideas that I never quite fit into. My sister Madison was born when I was 5 years old. From the moment she arrived, she was special. That's what everyone said. Madison is so special. She was cute. Big eyes, perfect smile, outgoing personality. The kind of kid who'd perform for guests without being asked, who'd sing and dance and charm every adult in the room. I was the opposite. Quiet, bookish, awkward. I'd rather read in my room than perform for visitors. I was good at school, but not in the flashy way that won awards. I was just there. And as we grew up, that dynamic only intensified. Madison was a cheerleader in high school. I was in the library club. Madison had 1 million friends and went to every party. I had 3 close friends and preferred movie nights at home. Madison dated the quarterback. I dated, well, nobody really. Not because I couldn't, but because I was focused on other things. College was where things really diverged. Madison went to USC, my parents' alma mater, and studied communications. She joined a sorority, networked constantly, and graduated with a 2.8 GPA and 1,000 Instagram followers. She was building a personal brand, my mother always said proudly. I went to UC Berkeley and studied computer science and finance. I graduated summa cum laude with a 3.9 GPA. I had 17 Instagram followers, most of whom were family members who felt obligated. Guess which one my parents bragged about? "Madison's doing so well with her social media," my mother would tell relatives. "She's becoming an influencer. Companies are sending her products to review. My double major in academic honors." "That's nice, dear. Very studious of you." After college, Madison moved back home. She needed to focus on building her brand, and living at home rent-free allowed her to invest in equipment, clothes, travel for content. She was 22 and posting bikini photos from Cabo while my parents paid her credit card bills. I, meanwhile, got a job at a financial tech startup in San Francisco. I moved into a tiny studio apartment in a questionable neighborhood, worked 80-hour weeks, and sent my parents a card on their birthdays. They never asked how I was doing. Never asked about my job. When I'd visit for holidays, the conversation was always about Madison. Her latest brand partnership, her growing follower count, her exciting life. I was just the boring daughter who did boring computer things that nobody understood or cared about. And you know what? I accepted it. I internalized it. I believed I was the less interesting child, the less successful one, the one who'd never measure up. Until the dinner that changed everything. It was a Sunday evening in March, about 6 months ago. I'd driven down from San Francisco for a family dinner, something I did maybe once a month, mostly out of obligation. I still had my childhood bedroom in my parents' house. It wasn't like I stayed there often, maybe 4 or 5 times a year, but it was nice to have a place that was mine, familiar, or so I thought. I arrived around 5 p.m., let myself in with my key. The house smelled like my mother's cooking. Roasted chicken, garlic, rosemary. Comforting smells from childhood. Sophia, my mother called from the kitchen. We're eating at 6. Madison's finishing a photo shoot upstairs. Of course she was. I went to my room to drop off my overnight bag. Opened the door and stopped. Half my stuff was gone. My bookshelf, the one I'd had since middle school, full of my favorite novels, empty. My desk, where I'd done homework for years, cleared off. My walls covered with posters and photos, bare. "Mom?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. What happened to my room? She appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel, looking mildly annoyed that I was making a fuss. "Oh, I moved some of your old things to the garage. You're 28, Sophia. You don't need all those childhood books anymore." "You didn't ask me." "I didn't think I needed to." "You're never here anyway." That stung, but I swallowed it. "Where's my stuff?" "In boxes in the garage. You can go through them later." Dinner was awkward. Well, dinner was awkward for me. Everyone else seemed perfectly comfortable. Madison dominated the conversation, as always. She'd just hit 500,000 followers on Instagram and had landed a partnership with a skincare company. They were paying her $10,000 for 3 posts. $10,000. My mother gushed. "Madison, that's incredible." "It's really not that much," Madison said with false modesty. "Some influencers make 6 figures per post. But it's a start." My father beamed at her. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart. You're building something real." I pushed food around my plate silently. "What about you, Sophia?" my father asked, finally acknowledging my existence. "How's the computer thing?" "It's good," I said. "We just closed our Series C funding round. Raised $50 million blank stares." "That's nice," my mother said uncertainly. "What does that mean?" "It means the company is growing. We're expanding." "Oh, Sophia, before I forget," my mother interrupted. "We need to talk about your room." My stomach dropped. "What about it?" My mother and father exchanged a look. Madison suddenly became very interested in her phone. "Madison needs more space," my mother started carefully. "Her content creation has gotten serious. She needs a proper studio, good lighting, room for equipment, a professional setup. And your room has the best natural light in the house." I stared at her. "You want me to give Madison my room?" "You're barely ever here," my father said, his tone turning defensive. "And when you are, you can use the basement room. It's perfectly comfortable." The basement room, the one with the tiny window near the ceiling, the one that smelled like mildew, the one they used for storage. "That's my childhood bedroom," I said quietly. "I grew up in that room. And now it's time to let Madison use it," my mother said firmly. "She's at a crucial point in her career. She needs our support." "What about my support?" The words came out sharper than I intended. My father's jaw tightened. "Sophia, don't be selfish. Madison is building something important. You have your little job in San Francisco. You don't need this room." Little job. Something inside me cracked. "So, what are you saying?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "Give up my room or it's time for you to move out," my father said bluntly. "You're 28 years old. Most people your age have their own place. If you're not going to be here regularly, there's no reason to keep a room for you. Madison needs it more." Madison, to her credit, looked slightly uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable enough to say anything. My mother jumped in, trying to soften the blow. "We're not kicking you out, sweetie. We're just saying it's time to let go. You can take the basement room for visits, or you can find your own place. Either way, Madison needs that room by the end of the month." The end of the month. 3 weeks away. I looked around the table. At my parents, who'd never once asked about my actual life. At Madison, who'd never had to work for anything. At this family that had spent 28 years making me feel like I didn't matter. And I made a decision. Okay, I said calmly. I'll move out. My mother looked relieved. Oh, good. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. I'll come get my things next weekend, I continued. All of them. I won't need the basement room. I won't be staying here anymore. Something in my tone made my father look up. Sophia. It's fine, I said, standing up. You're right. I'm 28. Time to move out. I grabbed my bag, got in my car, and drove back to San Francisco. And the entire drive, I wasn't sad. I wasn't hurt, I was calculating. Here's what my family didn't know about me. I was rich. Really rich, not influencer brand deal rich, not dentist practice rich, not real estate agent rich, venture capital, multiple millions, never have to work again rich. Let me back up. Remember that financial tech startup I joined after college? The little job doing computer things? I was employee number 8, and I wasn't just some random programmer. I was one of the lead engineers who built the core product, an AI-powered financial planning platform that used machine learning to optimize investment strategies for everyday people. We launched in 2018. By 2019, we had 100,000 users. By 2020, 1 million users. By 2021, we were processing $5 billion in assets under management. And because I was employee number 8, I had equity. A lot of equity, 5% of the company, to be exact. When we raised our Series C, that $50 million round I'd tried to tell my family about, the company was valued at $800 million. Do the math. 0.8% of $800 million is $6.4 million. On paper, my equity was worth over $6 million. But here's the thing. That was just paper value. I couldn't access it. The equity was locked up until either the company went public or got acquired. So I lived modestly. Kept working, didn't tell anyone. What was the point? The money wasn't real yet. Until 2 months after that. Disastrous family dinner until we got acquired. A major financial institution won. Of the biggest banks in the country bought us for $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion with a B. My 0.8% stake suddenly became real money. After taxes and everything else, I personally walked away with $4.3 million as cash in my bank account. At 28 years old, I had more money than I'd ever imagined having in my lifetime. And my family had no idea, because I'd never told them about the equity. Never explained how startups worked. Never bothered because they'd never bothered to ask. They thought I was just a regular employee making a regular salary. Probably $80,000 or $90,000 a year. Comfortable but not impressive. Certainly not as impressive as Madison's Instagram partnerships. The irony was delicious. But what made it even better? What made it absolutely perfect? The timing. I got the acquisition news 2 weeks after my parents told me to move out. 2 weeks after they'd chosen Madison's content studio over their own daughter. And that's when I started planning my revenge. I didn't want just any house. Wanted the perfect house. The house that would make a statement. That would prove a point. That would haunt my family every single day. I called a real estate agent, not my mother, obviously, and told her what I was looking for. I need a house in Orange County, preferably in the Turtle Rock area. That was the neighborhood where my parents lived. Budget is flexible up to $1.5 million. Must have good views, modern design, and... I paused for effect. It needs to be close to a specific address. I gave her my parents' address. The agent, whose name was Jennifer, didn't ask questions. Rich people have weird requests all the time. She just said, "I'll see what I can find." A week later, she called me back. "Sophia, I found something. It's perfect, almost too perfect. You need to see it." We met the next day. The house was directly across the street from my parents. Not next door, across the street, which meant they'd see it every single time they looked out their front windows, every time they pulled into their driveway, every time they left for work. It was a new construction, Modern, sleek, all glass and clean lines. 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 2,800 square feet. Open floor plan, floor-to-ceiling windows, a chef's kitchen that probably cost more than my parents' entire house. And the pièce de résistance? A rooftop deck with panoramic views of the neighborhood, including a perfect view of my parents' house. It just came on the market yesterday, Jennifer said as we walked through. The builder is motivated to sell. They're listing it at $1.3 million, but I think we could negotiate down to 1.2. I stood in the living room, looking out the massive windows at my parents' house across the street. I could see Madison's car in the driveway, could see the bedroom, my bedroom, where she was probably filming content right now. "I'll take it," I said. Jennifer blinked. "Don't you want to see the rest of the house? Check the inspection report? Think about it?" "I'll take it," I repeated. "Full asking price. All cash. I want to close as soon as possible." "All cash?" Jennifer looked like she might faint. Are you sure?" "Completely sure. Draw up the paperwork. We closed in 3 weeks. The fastest home purchase I've ever heard of." The builder was thrilled to have an all-cash offer with no contingencies. My parents had no idea what was happening. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends in San Francisco. Not my coworkers. Nobody. I wanted it to be a surprise. I scheduled the move for a Saturday morning. Early May. Beautiful weather. The kind of perfect California day where everyone's outside, doing yard work, washing cars, being suburban. I hired professional movers. The expensive kind who pack everything for you. Load it carefully. Treat your belongings like precious artifacts. I didn't have much furniture from my San Francisco studio, so I'd bought new pieces. Modern, expensive. The kind of stuff I'd always wanted but never felt I deserved. The moving truck arrived at 9 a.m. I arrived at 9:15. I parked my car, a new Tesla Model S that I'd bought the week before, in the driveway of my new house. Walked up to the front door, unlocked it, and waited. It took about 20 minutes. I was standing in my new living room, directing the movers on where to place a sofa, when I saw movement through the front windows. My mother, standing in her driveway across the street, staring at my house, at the moving truck, at me. I watched her pull out her phone, make a call. 5 minutes later, my father emerged from their house. Then Madison. All 3 of them stood in their driveway, staring at my house like they'd seen a ghost. I waved. My mother's face went pale. I turned back to the movers, smiling. "The couch looks perfect there. Thank you." It took another hour before they worked up the courage to come over. I was unpacking kitchen boxes when the doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. Yes, I'd installed a Ring doorbell immediately, and saw all 3 of them standing on my porch. I took my time walking to the door, smoothed my hair, put on my most pleasant smile, opened the door. "Hi," I said cheerfully. "Can I help you?" My mother's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Sophia, what is this?" "This is my house," I said simply. "I'm moving in. You told me to move out, remember?" But, my father sputtered. "This house is $1.2 million. How did you buy it?" I finished. All cash offer. It was really quite simple. Madison had finally found her voice. "Did you rob a bank or something? There's no way you can afford this place." I laughed. Genuinely laughed. "Madison, I didn't rob a bank. I worked. You know, that thing I've been doing for the past 6 years while you've been taking selfies?" "Sophia!" My mother gasped. "That's incredibly rude, is it?" I interrupted, my smile never wavering. "Because I thought kicking me out of my childhood bedroom so Madison could have a content studio was rude. I thought calling my career a little job was rude. I thought never once asking about my actual life was rude. But maybe I'm wrong." My father's face was turning red. "Young lady, we did not raise you to be disrespectful." "No," I agreed. "You didn't raise me at all. You raised Madison. I just sort of existed in the background, but that's okay, because it turns out I didn't need you." I gestured at my house. My beautiful, expensive, perfectly located house. The company I worked for got acquired, I explained, enjoying every second of their shocked expressions. My equity was worth quite a bit. After taxes, I netted about $4.3 million. This house was $1.2 million, which means I have about $3 million left, give or take. The silence was deafening. You have $3 million? My mother whispered. Give or take, I repeated. I'm investing most of it, obviously. Diversified portfolio, some real estate, some index funds. I'm working with a financial advisor, using my finance degree, the one you never asked about. Madison looked like she might cry. That's not fair. I work hard on my content. You post pictures on Instagram, I said flatly. I built financial software that helps millions of people optimize their investments. We are not the same. Sophia, my father started, his tone changing, becoming conciliatory. We had no idea you were doing so well. You never told us. You never asked, I interrupted. Not once in 6 years did you ask how my career was going, what I was working on, if I was happy. You assumed I was unsuccessful because I wasn't flashy about it, because I didn't post about it on social media, because I didn't fit your definition of success. My mother was crying now. We're your parents. We love you. Do you? I asked quietly. Because I don't think you even know me. You don't know what I do for a living. Not really. You don't know my friends, my interests, my life. You see me maybe 6 times a year and spend that entire time talking about Madison. That's not true, Madison protested. I pulled out my phone, opened my voice notes app. I recorded our last 5 family dinners. Just audio. Want to know how much time was spent talking about you versus me? I didn't wait for an answer. Last Thanksgiving, Madison, 73% of conversation. Me, 11%. Christmas, Madison, 68%. Me, 9%. Mom's birthday, Madison, 81%. Me, 6%. You recorded us? My father asked, outraged. I documented reality, I corrected. Because I knew you'd deny it. You'd say I was exaggerating, being sensitive, making things up. But numbers don't lie. I stepped back, hand on the door. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a lot of unpacking to do. Enjoy the view of my house. You'll be seeing a lot of it. Sophia, wait, my mother started. Oh, one more thing, I added. Madison, you can keep my old bedroom. It sounds like you really need it. After all, I won't be visiting anymore, so it's all yours. I closed the door in their faces, and through the window, I watched them walk back across the street, stunned and silent. It was the most satisfying moment of my life. The first week in my new house was surreal. Every morning, I'd wake up in my master bedroom, which was bigger than my entire San Francisco studio, and make coffee in my gorgeous kitchen. I'd take my coffee up to the rooftop deck and sit there, watching the sunrise over the neighborhood, and watching my parents' house. I wasn't being creepy about it. The deck was designed for views. It just so happened that their house was in those views, but the reactions were gold. Day 1. My mother came outside 3 times to water plants that clearly didn't need watering. Each time she'd glance up at my rooftop deck, see me sitting there, and hurry back inside. Day 2. My father washed his car, twice. He kept looking at my Tesla in my driveway, then at his 10-year-old Lexus, then back at the Tesla. The second time he washed his car, he used so much soap that foam was still on it the next morning. Day 3. Madison posted an Instagram story about fake people who flaunt their wealth. The irony of an influencer saying this was apparently lost on her. Day 4. My mother left a note on my door, handwritten, tucked into the door frame. Sophia, please call me. We need to talk. I'm your mother. Love, Mom. I threw the note away. Day 5. My father tried to intercept me as I was leaving for a grocery run. He practically ran across the street waving his arms. Sophia, wait! I stopped, finger on my car door handle. Yes? He was out of breath, his face flushed. We need to talk, as a family. I don't think so. Sophia, this is ridiculous. You can't just shut us out. I can, actually, I said calmly. I'm an adult, with my own house, which I bought with my own money. I don't owe you anything. We're your family. You weren't acting like family when you kicked me out." "We didn't kick you out," he protested. "We just asked you to." "Give up my childhood bedroom for Madison's Instagram career," I finished. "Yeah, I remember, and I did what you asked. I moved out, into a much nicer place, directly across from you, so you'd never forget." "This is petty," he said, his voice hardening. "This is justice," I corrected. "You wanted Madison to have the spotlight? She has it. You wanted me gone? I'm gone. You wanted to pretend I wasn't successful? Well, now you get to look at my success every single day." I got in my car and drove away, leaving him standing in the middle of the street. Day 6. Madison tried a different approach. She posted a vague Instagram story. "Family is everything. Money can't buy happiness. Stay humble." The comments were full of her followers agreeing, talking about how wise she was, how grounded. I rolled my eyes and went back to unpacking. Day 7. The HOA president stopped by. This was a wrinkle I hadn't expected. Mr. Patterson was a retired executive, early 70s, the kind of guy who took neighborhood aesthetics very seriously. "Miss Chen," he said when I answered the door, "welcome to the neighborhood. Beautiful home." "Thank you," I said cautiously. I wanted to introduce myself. "I'm Ted Patterson, HOA president. Also wanted to mention, and please don't take this the wrong way, but we've had some concerns from your neighbors." "Concerns?" He looked uncomfortable. "About the, rooftop deck. Some residents feel that having someone visible on a rooftop creates privacy issues, particularly your neighbors across the street." I almost laughed. "Let me guess. My parents complained? I can't disclose who filed the complaint." "Mr. Patterson, they're my parents. Of course they complained. They don't like that I can see their house from my deck." He blinked. "They're your... Oh dear." "Yeah," I said. "Family drama. But I should point out that the rooftop deck was part of the approved building plans. The builder got all the necessary permits. The deck is code compliant and doesn't violate any HOA rules. I checked before I bought the house." "Ah," he said, looking relieved. "Well, in that case, there's no issue. I'll let the concerned parties know." "You do that," I said pleasantly. After he left, I poured myself a glass of wine and went up to the rooftop deck. Raised my glass in the direction of my parents' house. "Cheers," I said to no one in particular. 3 weeks after I moved in, my grandmother got involved. Nai, my dad's mother, was 84 years old, sharp as a tack, and the matriarch of the family. She lived in San Diego but visited regularly. And apparently, my parents had finally broken down and told her what was happening. She called me on a Wednesday evening. "Sophia," she said in Mandarin, "I hear you bought a house." "Yes, Nai," I replied in Mandarin. "A very nice house." "Across from your parents?" "Yes." "To make a point?" "Yes." There was a long pause. Then, "Good." I almost dropped my phone. "What?" "Good," she repeated, switching to English. "Your parents, they are fools. I told your father 30 years ago, treat both children same. Both precious, both important. He did not listen." Nai, you are a good girl, Sophia. Work hard, study hard, make something of yourself. They should be proud. Instead, they ignore you. Favor Madison because she is pretty and loud. This is wrong. I felt tears prickling my eyes. "Thank you, Nai. But," she continued, her tone sharpening, "family is important. Your parents made mistake, big mistake, but they are still family. You understand?" "I understand. So, you will come to dinner. This Sunday, at your parents' house. I will be there. We will talk, all of us, as family. It wasn't a request. It was a command, and you don't say no to Nai. "Okay," I agreed. "I'll be there." Sunday dinner was awkward from the moment I walked in. My mother answered the door, looking nervous. "Sophia, thank you for coming." I nodded but didn't smile. Stepped inside. The house smelled the same. Garlic, ginger, soy sauce. Nine-Eye's cooking. She'd always insisted on cooking for family gatherings, despite her age. Madison was in the living room, curled up on the couch, looking uncharacteristically subdued. My father was setting the table, moving with jerky, uncomfortable motions. And Nine-Eye was in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove, looking like a tiny, fierce general preparing for battle. "Sophia," she called. "Come here. Help me." I went to the kitchen. She handed me a wooden spoon. "Stir," she commanded. Then quietly, "Let me talk first. You talk after, okay?" "Okay, Nine-Eye." Dinner was silent except for the sounds of eating. Nobody knew what to say. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, after we'd all filled our plates, Nine-Eye set down her chopsticks with a sharp click. "Enough," she announced. "We talk now." Everyone froze. Nine-Eye looked at my father. "David, you are my son. I love you. But you are idiot." My father's face went red. Quiet, I am talking." She turned to my mother. "Susan, you too, idiot." My mother looked like she might cry. Nine-Eye continued, relentless. "You have 2 daughters. 2. Both good girls. Both smart. Both accomplished. But you only see one. Why?" Nobody answered. "I tell you why," Nine-Eye said. "Because Madison is easy to see. She is loud. She is in your face. She says, 'Look at me. Love me, I am special.' And you look, and you love, and you say she is special." Madison was staring at her plate, her face flushed. "But Sophia?" Nine-Eye gestured at me. "Sophia is quiet. She does not demand attention. She works hard, makes no noise. So you think she does not need attention, does not need love, does not need to be special. You are wrong." "Ma, we love both our daughters," my father started. "Then why you kick her out?" Nine-Eye demanded. "Why you take her room for Madison's Instagram nonsense? Madison needed the space." "Madison is 23 years old." Nine-Eye's voice rose. "She should have her own house, her own money, not living with parents, taking money from parents, taking room from sister." Madison's eyes filled with tears. "I'm trying to build a career." "Oh, career," Nine-Eye snorted. "You take pictures. This is not career. This is hobby. Sophia? Sophia builds real career, makes real money, buys real house, by herself, with no help. This is success." "Ma, that's not fair," my mother tried. "Life is not fair," Nine-Eye interrupted. "But family should be fair. Family should love equal, support equal, be proud equal. You did not do this. You hurt Sophia, deep hurt. And now you are surprised she moves away?" She turned to me. "Sophia, you buy house across street. This is very smart, very clever. I am proud." "Thank you, Nine-Eye," I said softly. "But," she continued, "anger cannot last forever. Revenge is sweet, yes, but bitter in stomach later. You understand?" I nodded slowly. "Your parents are fools," she said bluntly. "But they are your parents. They love you, even if they are bad at showing. They must learn. They must change. They must apologize. Really apologize. Not fake sorry. Real sorry." She looked at my father. "David, apologize to your daughter." My father looked like he'd rather jump off a cliff. "But you don't disobey Nine-Eye." "Sophia," he said stiffly. I'm sorry we made you feel unimportant. That wasn't our intention." "What else?" Nine-Eye prompted. "And?" Nine-Eye wasn't letting up. "And I'm sorry we asked you to give up your room. It was wrong. You deserved better." It wasn't the most eloquent apology, but it was something. My mother was crying openly now. "Sophia, I'm so sorry. I've been thinking about it for weeks, and you're right. We treated you terribly. We took you for granted. We assumed you were fine because you never complained. But that's not an excuse. We should have been better parents." I felt my throat tightening. Part of me wanted to stay angry. Part of me wanted to walk out and never come back. But Nine-Eye was watching me with those sharp, knowing eyes. "I appreciate the apology," I said finally. "But apologies don't undo 28 years of being invisible." "I know," my mother whispered. You called my career a little job, I continued, my voice steady but cold. You never once asked what I was building, what I was proud of. You were so focused on Madison's Instagram that you couldn't see I was actually changing people's lives. Our platform helps people retire comfortably, helps families save for their kids' education, helps people build wealth who never thought they could. That matters. That's real. My father nodded, looking genuinely ashamed. I turned to Madison. And you've never had to struggle for anything. Mom and Dad paid for everything while you built your brand. Do you have any idea how privileged that is? Madison was crying now too. I know I'm lucky, but it's not like I don't work. You work on your personal image, I interrupted. That's not the same as working to survive, working to prove yourself, working because if you don't, you'll fail. I'm sorry, Madison said, her voice breaking. I'm sorry I took your room. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. I'm sorry I've been a terrible sister. Nine nodded approvingly. Good. Now, how we fix? Everyone looked at her, confused. Family is broken, she said matter-of-factly. How we fix? Sophia, you tell us what you need. I sat back, considering. What did I need? Space, I finally said. I need space. I need time to figure out if I even want you in my life. You can't just apologize and expect everything to go back to normal. There is no normal. You destroyed that. My mother flinched, but nodded. What can we do? Stop trying to force a relationship, I said. Stop showing up at my house. Stop leaving notes. Stop complaining to the HOA. Just leave me alone. If and when I'm ready to reconnect, I'll reach out. On my terms. How long? My father asked. I don't know. Maybe months, maybe years, maybe never. The words hung in the air like a threat. Nai looked satisfied. This is fair. She pointed at my parents. You leave Sophia alone. You think about what you did. You change. And maybe, she forgives you someday. She turned to me. And you. You think too. About what you want. About what family means. About whether you can forgive. Take time. But think. I nodded. Good, Nai declared. Now we eat dessert. I made almond cookies. And just like that, the tension broke slightly. Not completely, but enough. We ate almond cookies in uncomfortable silence. I left as soon as it was polite to do so. As I walked across the street to my house, my beautiful, expensive, perfectly positioned house, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet. I kept my word. I didn't reach out, but I watched. It's impossible not to when you live across the street. And over the next few months, I noticed changes. Madison got a job, an actual job, not just Instagram sponsorships. She started working at a marketing agency, entry level, nothing glamorous. I'd see her leaving in business casual clothes every morning at 8 a.m., looking tired but purposeful. She still posted on Instagram, but less frequently, and the content changed. Less bikini shots from exotic locations, more professional outfits, motivational quotes, content about balancing work and personal brand. My mother stopped doing open houses on Sundays, the day she knew I was usually home. She'd leave the house, early, come back late, carefully avoiding any chance encounters. My father planted a garden. I watched him from my rooftop deck, kneeling in the dirt, planting vegetables and flowers with this intense concentration, like he was trying to grow something to replace what he'd lost. They were trying. In their own awkward, imperfect way, they were trying. I started therapy. My therapist, Dr. Patel, was a calm, insightful woman who didn't let me get away with anything. You have every right to be angry, she told me during one session. But anger is exhausting. It's valid, but it can't be your forever emotion. I don't know how to not be angry, I admitted. What would not angry look like? I thought about it. Indifferent, maybe? Like they're just people I used to know? Is that what you want? I don't know what I want. She smiled gently. That's okay. You don't have to know yet. But I'd encourage you to ask yourself, what would make you feel whole? Not vindicated. You already got that with the house. But whole. Healed. I didn't have an answer. But I kept thinking about it. 3 months after the family dinner, something unexpected happened. I got a letter. Not email. An actual handwritten letter slipped into my mailbox. It was from Madison. Dear Sophia, I know you said you wanted space, so I'm not going to knock on your door or try to force a conversation. But I needed to write this down. I needed you to know. I got a job. A real job, where I have to be on time and follow someone else's rules and work on projects that aren't about me. It's hard. It's humbling. And it's made me realize how easy I've had it. I've been thinking a lot about what you said at dinner, about privilege, about not struggling. You were right. I've never had to prove myself. Everything was handed to me, and I thought that was just how life worked. I didn't see how much you were doing on your own because I was too busy taking selfies. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see how hard you worked, how much you accomplished, how little credit you got. And I'm sorry I was part of that. I'm trying to be better. I don't know if I'll ever be as successful as you, but I'm trying to at least earn what I have. That's something, right? I miss you. I know I don't have the right to miss you, but I do. You're my sister, the only sister I'll ever have, and I wasted so many years not appreciating that. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. If you don't, I understand. Love, Madison. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and tried not to think about it. But it stayed with me. The sincerity in her words, the acknowledgement, the growth. 4 months in, my father showed up at my door. I saw him on the Ring camera, standing on my porch, looking nervous. He wasn't carrying anything, wasn't trying to barge in, just standing there. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. Dad. Sophia. He looked older than I remembered. More tired. I know you said you wanted space. I'm not here to violate that. I wanted to give you something. He held out an envelope. Thick, official looking. I took it, confused. Opened it. Inside was a check, made out to me, for $50,000. What is this? I asked. It's the money we spent on Madison over the past 6 years, he said quietly. I went through our finances, added up everything: rent, food, insurance, credit card bills, travel, equipment. Everything we paid for while she lived at home. It comes to about $50,000. I stared at the check. You got nothing from us, he continued. You moved out, paid your own way, built your own life. We gave Madison everything and you nothing. So, this is us trying to balance the scales. It's not enough. I know it's not enough. But it's something. Dad, I don't need your money. I know. But we needed to give it. Please, take it, donate it, burn it, whatever you want. Just let us do this one thing right. I looked at my father, really looked at him, and saw genuine remorse, genuine pain. Okay, I said softly. Thank you. He nodded, eyes wet, and turned to leave. Dad? I called after him. He turned back, hopeful. The garden looks nice. His face broke into the first real smile I'd seen from him in months. Thank you. I'm growing tomatoes and some herbs. It's peaceful. That's good. He nodded again and walked away. I closed the door and looked at the check in my hands. $50,000. A number that would have changed my life 6 years ago. Now it was just a gesture, a symbol. I donated it to a scholarship fund for first-generation college students studying STEM. Set it up anonymously. Felt better than I'd felt in months. 6 months after I moved in, I hosted a housewarming party. Not a big one. Just my close friends from San Francisco, a few coworkers, my financial advisor and her wife. About 20 people total. We were up on the rooftop deck, drinking wine, laughing, enjoying the perfect California evening. Someone made a joke about my spite house, and everyone laughed because by now, they all knew the story. Best revenge I've ever heard, my friend Jen said, raising her glass. You're a legend. Cheers to that, someone else added. I smiled and accepted the praise. But something felt off, empty, almost. Later that night, after everyone had left and I was cleaning up, I stood on the rooftop deck alone, looked across at my parents' house. The lights were on in the living room. I could see shadows moving inside. My family. My strange, flawed, frustrating family. And I realized something. The revenge had been satisfying. The house was beautiful. The point had been made. But I was lonely. I'd spent 6 months proving that I didn't need them, that I was successful and independent and fine on my own. And I was. I was all those things. But did I want to spend the rest of my life proving it? Dr. Patel's question echoed in my mind. What would make you feel whole? Not vindicated, whole. I pulled out my phone, stared at it for a long moment, then opened my messages and typed, Mom, Dad, Madison. I think I'm ready to talk. Real talk. No performances, no pretending, just honest conversation. Are you interested? I hit send before I could second guess myself. 3 responses came back within minutes. Mom. Yes. Absolutely yes. Thank you, Sophia. Dad. Anytime, anywhere. Thank you for giving us a chance. Madison. I've been hoping you'd say that. I love you, sis. I stared at the messages, my emotions tangled and complicated. Then I typed, Sunday dinner. My house this time, 6 p.m. and Madison, bring your boyfriend. I'd like to meet him. Because apparently, during her transformation into a functional adult, Madison had started dating someone. Someone serious. Someone who wasn't an influencer or a model, but an actual accountant who helped her set up a budget and a savings plan. The kind of detail I only knew because Nai had told me during one of our regular phone calls. Sunday came. I spent all afternoon cooking. Real cooking, not just reheating takeout. The recipes Nai had taught me when I was young. Dumplings from scratch. Mapo tofu. Garlic, green beans. The doorbell rang at exactly 6 p.m. I opened it to find my family standing there, looking nervous and hopeful. Come in, I said. They entered slowly, looking around at my house, really looking, for the first time. Sophia, my mother breathed. This is beautiful. Thank you, I said simply. Madison's boyfriend, a nice-looking guy named Tom, who gave me a firm handshake and made direct eye contact, said, You have great taste. This architecture is stunning. I got lucky with the builder, I said. They did quality work. We sat down to dinner. And for the first time in years, maybe ever, we had a real conversation. Not surface-level small talk. Not Madison dominating with influencer stories. Not my parents showing off. Real conversation. My father asked about my work and actually listened when I explained our AI algorithms and user interface design. Asked follow-up questions, showed genuine interest. My mother asked if I was dating anyone, and when I said not currently, she didn't push or express disappointment. Just nodded and said, "When you're ready, you have plenty of time." Madison told me about her job, about how hard it was to start at the bottom, how humbling it was to have a boss and deadlines and accountability. "I get it now," she said. "What you were saying about real work. It's different when someone else isn't paying your bills." "How are the Instagram deals?" I asked, genuinely curious. She shrugged. "Still doing some, but I'm more selective now, only partnering with brands I actually use, and I'm saving most of the money. Tom helped me open a Roth IRA. "That's great," I said, meaning it. Tom jumped in. "Madison's actually really good at content creation. She has an eye for aesthetics, understands engagement metrics. I've been encouraging her to think about transitioning into social media marketing professionally. The skills are transferable." Madison lit up. "Really? You think I could do that?" "Absolutely," Tom said. "You just need some formal training and portfolio pieces. But you have the raw talent." I watched them interact, the way he believed in her but also pushed her to be better, and felt something unexpected. I liked him. "I like them together. What about you, Dad?" I asked. "How's the practice?" "Good, busy. I'm actually thinking about bringing on a partner, someone younger to handle the long days. I'm 60 now. Time to slow down a bit." He paused. "Spend more time on things that matter." "Like your garden?" I smiled. He smiled back. "Like my garden. You should come see it sometime. The tomatoes are finally ripening." "I'd like that," I heard myself say. The evening stretched on. We talked and laughed and occasionally hit awkward silences, but pushed through them. It wasn't perfect. There was still hurt, still distance. But it was a start. As they were leaving, my mother hugged me. Really hugged me, not the perfunctory side hug I'd gotten used to. "Thank you for inviting us," she whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on us." "I almost did," I admitted. "I know. We deserved it." She pulled back, hands on my shoulders. "But I'm grateful you didn't. I'm grateful we get another chance." After they left, I stood in my doorway and watched them walk across the street. Watched Madison laugh at something Tom said. Watched my father put his arm around my mother's shoulders. Watched them go into their house, the house I'd grown up in, the house that held so many complicated memories. And I felt okay. Not healed completely. Not ready to forgive everything. But okay. A year after I bought my house, things had settled into a new normal. Madison and I had coffee every other week. Sometimes we talked about deep stuff, childhood, resentment, growth. Sometimes we just talked about TV shows and work drama. She'd gotten a job at a social media marketing agency and was actually thriving. Turned out she was good at strategy when she wasn't just focused on herself. My parents came to my house for dinner once a month. I went to theirs occasionally. We'd never be close in the traditional sense. Too much had happened. But we were building something new, something honest. Nai visited more often, always insisting on cooking, always keeping everyone in line. She was the glue holding this fractured family together. My career continued to flourish. I joined the board of 2 nonprofit organizations focused on financial literacy and STEM education for underprivileged kids. I was using my wealth and expertise to actually make a difference. I started dating someone, a professor at UC Irvine, brilliant and kind, who thought my Spite House story was hilarious and had zero interest in social media. We'd met at a friend's wedding and bonded over our shared love of terrible sci-fi movies. And my house? My beautiful, expensive, perfectly positioned house, it stopped being about revenge. It started being about me. About the life I'd built, about the success I'd earned, about the person I'd become despite, or maybe because of, my family's neglect. The rooftop deck became my favorite place to read. The kitchen became where I hosted dinner parties. The home office became where I worked on consulting projects and nonprofit initiatives. It became home. Not a statement. Not a message. Just home. One evening, I was up on the rooftop deck, reading and watching the sunset, when my doorbell rang. I checked the camera. It was Madison. "Come on up," I called down through the intercom. "I'm on the roof." She appeared a few minutes later, carrying 2 bottles of wine and looking excited. "I have news," she announced, plopping down in the chair next to me. "Good news?" "Great news. Tom proposed." I jumped up and hugged her. "Madison, that's amazing! Congratulations!" "Thank you." She was glowing. "He did it at the Botanical Gardens. Very simple, very him." And I said yes. "I'm so happy for you," I said, meaning it. "There's more," she said, suddenly nervous. "I want to ask you something, and you can totally say no." "What is it?" "Would you be my maid of honor?" I stared at her. "Really?" "Really. You're my sister, my only sister. And despite everything, despite how shitty I was to you, you're still here. You gave me another chance. I want you standing next to me on the most important day of my life." Tears pricked Sophia's eyes. "Madison?" "I know I don't deserve it," Madison continued quickly. "I know I have years of being a better sister to make up for. But I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. And I love you. I always have, even when I didn't know how to show it." Sophia pulled her sister into another hug. "Of course I'll be your maid of honor. I'd be honored." Madison burst into tears. Happy tears this time. They opened the wine and sat on the rooftop deck, watching the sun set over the neighborhood. Over their parents' house, where lights were turning on in the windows. Over the life Sophia had built, the revenge that had transformed into healing. "Can I ask you something?" Madison said after a while. "Sure. Do you still hate them? Mom and Dad?" Sophia considered the question. "No," she said finally. "I don't hate them. I'm still hurt. Still angry sometimes. Still working through it in therapy. But hate, no, they're trying. Really trying. And that means something. Do you regret it? Buying this house?" Sophia looked at her home. Her beautiful, expensive, spite-fueled home. "No, I don't regret it. Not for a second. Even though it was revenge?" "It was revenge," Sophia agreed. "But it was also the push they needed. The wake-up call. The slap in the face that made them finally see me. Without this house, we'd probably still be in the same broken pattern." She smiled. "So no, I don't regret it. This house saved our family, in the weirdest, most expensive, most petty way possible. But it saved us." Madison laughed. "That's so messed up." "Life is messed up," Sophia said. "We just do the best we can." They clinked their wine glasses together and watched the stars come out over Orange County. 2 sisters who'd found their way back to each other through spite and stubbornness and love. Madison and Tom's wedding was small, intimate. 50 guests in a garden venue. String lights overhead, flowers everywhere. Sophia stood next to her sister in a sage green dress, holding her bouquet, watching Madison marry a good man who truly loved her. David walked Madison down the aisle, tears streaming down his face. Susan sat in the front row, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Nai sat next to her, looking satisfied and proud. During the reception, David gave a speech. "My daughter Madison," he began, his voice shaking, "has grown so much in the past year. Watching her become independent, build a career, find love with Tom. It's been the greatest privilege of my life." He paused, looked at Sophia, standing at the bridal party table. "But I need to say something else. Something important. Madison couldn't have become the woman she is today without her sister." Sophia pushed her, challenged her, believed in her. "And I failed to do that. I failed both my daughters by not seeing them clearly, by not loving them equally, by not being the father they deserved." The room had gone quiet. "Sophia," he continued, his voice breaking, "I'm so proud of you. I should have said it years ago. Should have said it every day. You're brilliant, accomplished, generous, strong. You built an incredible life. And I'm sorry, so sorry, that I didn't tell you that when you needed to hear it most." Sophia felt tears running down her face. "But I'm telling you now, in front of everyone we love, I am proud of you. We are proud of you, and we love you. Both our daughters, equally, finally." The room erupted in applause. Later, during the dancing, Susan pulled Sophia aside. I know we have a long way to go, she said. I know we can't erase years of hurt with apologies and therapy and good intentions. But Sophia, I want you to know you saved this family by refusing to accept being invisible, by demanding to be seen, by buying that ridiculous, wonderful, spite-filled house. She laughed through her tears. You saved us by refusing to let us ignore you anymore. I almost gave up on you, Sophia admitted. Almost cut you out completely. I'm so glad you didn't. Me too, Mom. Me too. They hugged. A real hug. The kind they should have been sharing all along. 1 year after buying her house across the street, Sophia Chen stood on her rooftop deck, watching the sunrise. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Coffee on the deck this morning? She smiled. Already brewing. Come over. Another text from Madison. Tom and I are thinking of buying a house in the neighborhood. Can you help us look? Absolutely. Send me listings. Another from her mother. Nai is visiting next weekend. Family dinner at your place? Perfect. I'll cook. Sophia looked at her phone. At the messages from her family, from her boyfriend, from the life she'd built. The house had started as revenge. As a monument to spite, as proof that she didn't need them, that she'd succeeded without them, that they'd made a terrible mistake. But somewhere along the way, it had become something else. It had become the catalyst for healing. The bridge that brought them back together. The foundation for a new relationship built on honesty instead of assumptions, on effort instead of neglect, on seeing each other clearly instead of through the lens of old patterns. Her parents would never be perfect. They'd never fully undo the years of pain, but they were trying. Genuinely, consistently trying, and that was enough. Sophia took a sip of her coffee and smiled at the sunrise. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about forcing people to finally open their eyes. And sometimes, the best revenge is living so well, so visibly, so undeniably successfully that they have no choice but to see you. Every single day. So there you have it. The story of the woman who bought $1 million house to spite her family, and somehow ended up saving them in the process. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, strategic, a house across the street that says, you can't ignore me anymore. And you know what? That's beautiful. If this story gave you chills, and I know it did, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible revenge stories. Tell us in the comments. Have you ever had to force someone to see your worth? What did you do? And remember, the best revenge isn't cruelty. It's success. Visible, undeniable, impossible to ignore success. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.